Hello. What up? Let me just post about this so I can get some shit going here. Okay. No, I don't want that. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. All right. All right. Cool, 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 cool. All right. We got this. We got the chat up on the other screen. We're recording. So I just kind of want to take a little bit to kind of go over Cataclysm a little bit, and I haven't been streaming as much as I'd like to be. We've been doing some other stuff that technically I guess is against TOS, but yeah, what's up, Vault? Uh, but like I don't know, I haven't really been streaming it. I've been recording everything we've done, so it's all gonna be made, excuse me, into YouTube videos. But it's right now it's just kind of, eh, you know. Oh, excuse me. So it's just kind of like a little all over the place, but I'm hoping that I can stream on Sunday when we do our first 25, but we'll see. So I don't know. I did not record yesterday, actually. I recorded our Saturday run that we did. Um, so I'm missing a couple of BWD bosses that I forgot to hit record on from when we did that on Saturday. Like the first two, I think I'm missing, but I have every other boss recorded and killed. So, and I will be recording again on Sunday. So, okay. But I guess we can just go ahead and get into it. I mean, like, I'm not really trying to be on for, a couple hours or anything like that. This is going to be a pretty short stream. I'm thinking maybe 30 minutes to an hour. My wife is out at a play for her old school that she used to work at, and she's helping and she's kind of doing some things for them. Like she's doing the sound for them, and she's doing that tonight, and then she's doing that tomorrow. So I get a little bit of time, but the play ends at like 8 or 8:30. I think it starts at 6:30, so it like just started 15 minutes ago, and then it's like a 2-hour show, so she'll be done by like 8:30. But she's not like staying or anything after that, so she's like, I want to go out. Yo, thanks for the follow, Evolved. Appreciate it. So she's not like, and she's like, let's go out afterwards. And I'm like, okay. Don't really know where we're gonna go on a Thursday night at 9 o'clock, because she's like 40 minutes away, so she's not gonna get back to this area until like 9:15, 9:30. And like it's Thursday. I don't drink. I mean, kind of prefer not to, but that's what it is. But all right, let's get into the tier list, because I think this is a fun thing to do. I like doing these kinds of things. I've never done one before, so I set this up, and of course there's a couple of ads on here, even though I have ad block. But fucking bullshit. You can edit it. That's pretty fun. All right, so I guess we'll just go ahead and dive right in. So like we'll just go down. I did order these. Like I just put all the healers and tank specs at the bottom, because like we're not really gonna go over them today. I didn't really want to go over them. I kind of wanted to just go over, all the DPS specs. So we'll start with Combat Rogue, which is right here, and this particular spec is gonna be kind of interesting, because rogues are kind of hard to tell what they're gonna be like in Kata. Right now, from what we've seen in the data we have, combat and assassination are going to be relatively even, but I think combat might be, out of the three specs, at least for phase one, the worst. So I'm going to put it at C for now. Like you could bring these, but if you have better DPS that bring the same buffs, you're probably going to want a different kind of rogue, like maybe a subtlety rogue or assassination. I think overall you're going to be looking at something a little bit different here. And then for so these are pretty good, but like you could bring them, they'll be fine, but they're not gonna like top the charts or anything like that. They'll be good, but they're not gonna be amazing. Frost DKs. Now, Frost DKs are kind of poop, if I remember correctly. I'm gonna put them in D rank because I don't think Frost is gonna do well. I think Frost has some utility to it that might be decent. Like Chillblains is gonna be pretty nice for Frost. For kiting, it's gonna be good for like 10-mans, but I think overall, when you're looking at like kiting and things like that, you have classes that are just better suited for it, right? I don't think you're gonna want to bring a Frost DK if you have hunters, or if you have an unholy DK, right? Or a Ret Paladin or anything like that. Like all of those classes are gonna be better, or you just bring a third tank that could do it. So that are all going to be better served than a Frost DK. I just don't think they're really worth it to bring to your raid. They don't really bring anything to your raid. They don't really do a whole bunch of heavy damage. They're kind of weak, at least early. They might get better later in the expansion, but for the early stages, Frost DK is going to be kind of womp womp. All right, Unholy DK. Unholy DK is going to be very good. I'm going to put it in the A tier. So Unholy, although Unholy is also going to be very difficult to play. So one of the things you got to know about Unholy is that you're always in Unholy presence, right? So you have to have a very high APM to play Unholy, especially in Cata, because your GCD is going to be halved, right? So you're always going to be pressing buttons. You have to move. You got to press buttons. You got to move. You got to press buttons. And you got to make sure you get your rotation, get your outbreak off. If you don't get your outbreak off, you're basically cucked and you're screwed. It's not good. So I definitely don't. Definitely would want, you're definitely going to want at least one Unholy DK in your raid at all times, potentially more if they're good. I would say this reserved for, I mean, I guess you could justify that it's going to be B only because it's so difficult. And like, if you don't have players that are good at it, there's going to be classes that are easier to play that are going to do more damage. So, or equal damage to it. And it brings some good buffs, which is good, so you're going to want at least one. So I think B is probably actually the better place for it, only because of that, because you're really only going to want one Unholy DK in your raid. Unless you have some good Unholy DKs, then you can bring two or whatever. But there are other melee classes that are just going to be better, right? So, all right, moving on. Boomkin. Boomies, Moonkins, Crit Chickens, all of the above. I think it's going to be pretty good. I think they're going to be pretty good. I don't know if I would put them up at A. I think I want to put them at B also because I think it's similar to an Unholy DK. Why? Why are you calling shenanigans on the Frost DK ranking? I'm actually open to suggestion because I'm not a DK main, but like based on what I've seen and what we've talked about, and what we personally have talked about is like Frost and what Brian has said. It's like Frost DK is not going to be that good. Unholy is going to be the main spec to play for damage. They have more utility than an Unholy DK. I'm not being hateful, man. There's other classes that are going to go down in that D tier. Yeah, but hunters can. Hunters can. Other DKs can. Other tanks can. So, like, would you rather bring a meta class, right? All right, fine. Because you're right. You're right. I'll put it up to C. I'll move it up to a C. Okay. It'll be serviceable. We'll move it up to a C. Okay. It'll be serviceable. So Frost DKs will be serviceable. They're not going to be amazing. They'll be good for utility. If you have one and somebody that wants to play it and is good at it, you can bring it. We'll say these are like D tier is like where you don't want to be bringing them to your raids, really. So C is like you can bring them and it's like they'll be fine. They bring some buffs and you can bring them and it won't cause a problem, right? It won't be just like a useless person in your raid. Um, so, Feral Druid. This is Feral Cat. I'm going to put this one also at C. And I think I'm going to put this one at C because I just don't really see the reason to just have a straight up Feral Cat, right? They're useful in the sense that they give Fairy Fire, which is basically your Sunder armor. So they give that, and then they have the 30% bleed damage increase, but they're not the only ones that give that. Rogues can give that too. There's a couple other classes that can give that 30% bleed. If you were bringing a Feral Tank, right, that is probably a better served person, like a Feral Tank that switches to DPS for certain fights, right? That is better served in your raid than just bringing a Feral DPS. Feral DPS didn't really change too much between expansions from Wrath to Cataclysm, so it's kind of wishy-washy when it comes to this class. Again, you could bring them, they'll be fine, they'll do good damage, they're not going to be top in the meters. If you need a third tank, they're also a good person to just hop into bear form, grab a couple things, and hang on to them for a little bit, and they'll be okay. They can pop their cooldowns, right? So they have some utility and some use in the raid, but just a Feral DPS is going to be a little hard sell. It's going to be kind of like a Frosty K or a Combat Rogue, where they're just going to kind of be low on the meters, and like they're not going to be the meta damage, right? So, all right. Beast Mastery Hunters. I think BM is going to go into the B tier. Here, I think that's pretty standard for Beast Mastery. Their actually damage is going to be pretty good, but it's not going to be amazing. They are essentially more of your utility class. So you bring them because they have like Lust. They actually have Lust, so you could bring them for that. They have 20 different pet slots that they can fill up with different buffs. So whatever buff your raid is missing, if you have a Beast Mastery Hunter, they'll just pop it in, right? They can bring up to, I think it's like 8 or 9 different buffs that they could bring, but they can only bring one of them, right? They bring like 1 or 2 of them. They bring the 3% damage that an Arcane Mage or a Ret Paladin brings, right? Based just having them in the raid, so they're a good replacement for something like that. And they do pretty good damage. I think they would do a little bit better damage than a Frosty Cave or a Feral Druid. They're going to be on par with like, Boomkins and stuff like that. Marksman Hunters. I also think this probably is going to go into the C tier. I just think it's probably the worst hunter spec. I'm not really like too sold on Marksman right now. They have pretty good single target, but they have not great AoE. They're just kind of going to be womp womp because they don't bring anything to the raid that's better than maybe survival. We could argue that they're also in B tier. I don't think they're A tier. Like they could be B or C. I think it could go either way, but I don't know that it's really going to be anything different than that. So I'm going to leave him in C because I just don't think, even as a hunter main, I'm not going to be playing Marksman except to level. And it is good for leveling. Marksman is very good for leveling because you don't have a lot of downtime. Like even with your focus on kill, you have a talent that gives you 50 focus. So leveling with a Marksman Hunter is very good, right? Leveling, dungeon grinding, you're going to be able to just go fast. But it's for raiding, it's kind of lackluster. Now, Survival Hunters, this is the first one I'm going to put up in the S tier. Based on the feedback I'm getting and the damage that they're doing that I've seen, they are topping the meters. Single target and AoE. They are kind of nasty. They are going to be probably one of the meta classes. Survival Hunters are likely going to be meta for at least Phase 1. Can't guarantee what they'll be like for Phase 2, but for Phase 1, Survival Hunters themselves will be very, very good, and you'll want to have as many of these as you can feasibly have in your raid geared up and pumping for you to do damage, especially in heroics. They bring an additional buff. They can kite. They're really utility. They're really good. So I definitely recommend Survival Hunters as one of the top damage specs in Cata Phase 1. Arcane Mage. So Arcane Mage, I think I kind of want to put it in the A tier for Phase 1. It's not going to be incredible, but it's definitely going to be better than if someone that can play it well, it's going to be really good. And it brings a bunch of buffs, right? So it brings a 3% damage. It brings 6% spell power. It brings maximum mana increase. They do really, really good CC. They have some, and they'll have really good damage, at least in phase one. It does kind of trail off towards the later phases, and you will want to be fire, and fire is still very good in phase one, probably better than arcane. But arcane will be plenty serviceable and plenty good for phase one, I think. Now onto Fire Mage. Here's another one of my S tier classes. Fire Mage is going to be just a pumper class, somebody that knows how to press their combustion, has the right weak auras, and can push their combustion at the right time and spread it correctly if they need to on AoE. These guys are going to pump. So good Fire Mages are going to be really, really good. I think anyone that's good, Fire Mages, Survival Hunters, you're going to want to stack them, right? They're just going to be so nasty and so good. I'm thinking back on this, and I'm thinking about the meters that I remember seeing from the last few days that we've been doing some testing on, and I think I want to boost Unholy up 1 to A, because they're going to be probably in line with Arcane Mages as far as damage goes with good ones. So you could bring a couple of them to your raid, and you'd still be fine. All right, Frost Mage. Here's our first D tier. Don't bring these. Don't bring a Frost Mage. It's fun to level in. I played it. It's fun as fuck to level in. Very, very fun. I thoroughly enjoyed Frost Mage to level in. It's really cool. It's really interesting. You always have your pet up. You get like Frostfire Bolt, and you're shooting things and just insta-casting stuff, but it's not going to do good damage in raids. It's not worth it. They don't bring anything useful to your raid. They don't bring anything that the other mages don't already bring, and their damage is just butt. So don't bring a Frost Mage. Make sure your mages are Arcane or Frost if you're bringing mages. Ret Paladin. I think I kind of want to put this in the S tier. I think Ret Paladins are going to be fucking insane. Once they get gear and once they're decked out, I think they're going to be absolutely nuts. That's just a gut feeling. I could be completely off base on that and completely wrong, but I do think that the Ret Paladins are going to be, at least in phase one, absolutely insane. I don't really foresee them being, messing with anything, and they're going to be great. They're great utility, right? They have a bunch of Hodges, they have interrupts. They are great utility, and they're going to do very, very good damage. So I definitely think these are ones you're going to want to bring a few of. Now, we could go to A because there is another melee class that is up there. So maybe we'll adjust this later in the stream when we get to it. But for now, I'm going to leave it at S. A, Shadow Priest. Okay, Shadow Priest. So Shadow Priest doesn't change much during Kata. They pretty much get like one new spell. So they're pretty much the same. But I still think they're going to be A tier. Good Shadow Priests are going to pump. They're going to do really good damage. I don't know that they're going to beat out your Survival Hunters, your Ret Paladins, or your Fire Mages, but they're going to be up there, right? Up there with your Arcanes, your Unholies, right? And they're gonna do really well. Good Shadow Priests are gonna absolutely wreck stuff. So make sure you're bringing at least one of these, probably two. It's really important that you're bringing at least a couple of these. It's not like a thing where you want to just bring one and you're good. They also have the same buffs as a Boomkin, and they do better damage. So which one are you going to take? You're going to take the Shadow Priest, right? Because not only do the Shadow Priests help themselves and do a lot of damage and bring a lot of extra healing, right? They also buff the Warlocks because they are the primary target for the Warlock's Dark Intent, right? So as many Warlocks as you have in your raid, you should have that amount of Shadow Priests, so you make sure that you get Dark Intent out, and Dark Intent helps the Shadow Priest intent, and it helps the Warlocks, in turn helps the whole raid, right? Damage goes up. So really important that you're doing that. Elemental Shaman. I like Elemental Shaman personally. I think Ele Shaman's also going to be up in A tier. I really do. I just think they're going to do good damage. I think their damage is, like, their kit is really nice when it comes to, like, insta-cast Lava Burst. When you have Flame Shock up, it automatically crits, right? So you don't even need to stack crit. They do good AoE with Chain Lightning. Thunder Shock's really good. Their spec is a little weird because they don't take their final talent in their elemental tree, but, overall, they're a really, really good class. They have Lust. They bring a bunch of buffs. I think they are going to do very, very well. So I think you could bring one or two of these and, they'll be great. Good Ellie Shamans are going to be good stuff. Highly, highly recommend. Okay, so what do we got next? This Enhancement Shaman. Enhancement Shaman. This is a tough one because I haven't run into any Enhancement Shamans yet. Like, legitimately. I've not run into any. We have not had one in our raids for a while. We bring like one, right? We've had like 2 or 3 raids and we've had like one for those raids. And I don't know what is going on with that. So like, I don't really want to put them in D tier because I still feel like they're going to do okay damage and they'll be serviceable. But like, I think C tier is probably the best place for Enhancement Shamans because they're just not that great. They just aren't. They're good, but they're just not great. They don't really bring much besides the same totems that everyone else brings. They don't really bring any extra utility that an Ellie Shaman brings, right? Ellie Shaman has more buffs too, and they do more damage. So like, when you have a Shaman, which one are you going to bring? The Ellie or the Enhanced? You're going to bring the Ellie, right? So that's the way I see it when it comes to the Shaman. All right, Affliction Lock. All right, this is another one that's going to be quite good. I'm going to put him in A tier. I think the Affliction Locks are going to be nasty. I think they're going to be comparable with some of these top damage, and they'll be right up there with your Shadow Priest, your Ellie Shamans, your Unholy DKs, your Arcane Mages, stuff like that. They're going to be right up there. They also give Dark Intent, so they directly buff your Shadow Priests, and that in turn then buffs them. So it's like if you bring enough of the right classes here, you'll be in great shape. 1 Warlock, 1 Shadow Priest, 2 Shadow Priests, 2 Warlocks, right? Definitely really, really good on Affliction. They're fun to play. They're a little bit easier to play than they were in Wrath, because with Wrath they had an insanely high skill cap. I remember playing an Affliction Lock and just getting absolutely pooped on by the other Affliction Locks I've been playing. And I played it in Ulduar, and it was fun, but it just felt bad if you make one mistake, it punishes you for the whole fight, and your DPS is screwed. So 1 bad Drained Soul, 1 mistaken Shadow Bolt instead of refreshing a dot, right? You're just screwed. So it's not as punishing with the way they change dots. So Affliction becomes more viable. More people can play it and play well. So I definitely recommend Affliction for you to play as an A tier class. Okay, Demonology Warlock. This one I'm going to put in B tier. I don't really think you need a Demonology Lock in this. They do okay damage, right? Afflictions are going to be better, right? But they have like some weird pet twisting stuff that goes on, so it's also more of a high skill cap role, where even if you played at the high skill cap, you're still not going to be comparing to really all of these classes when you have the same gear, right? All of these classes are going to out DPS you, and they bring the same buffs as an Ellie Shaman, right? And an Ellie Shaman is going to out DPS a Demo Lock. So which one again, similar to what I said before, which one are you going to bring, an Ellie Shaman or a Demo Lock? When you have two of this, if they both are the same player and they're both playing the same class and they have the same gear, right? Which character do you want them to bring? You want them to bring the Ellie Shaman, right? They're just going to do more damage. They're just going to have more utility. They're just better, and they're easier to play. So I do think the Ellie Shaman is better, and I think the Demo Lock is a B tier, because you could bring them. They're going to be served. They'll do fine. They'll probably do better than some of these other classes here in the C rank, but they're not like necessary like they were in Wrath. They're not incredibly good as far as giving you a demonic pack that's just the same 10%, right? It's nothing else. So definitely bring some Demo Locks if you want it, but try to make sure your people play an Affliction. All right, Demo. No, this is Destruction. Destruction is butt. I don't think you want to bring anybody that's playing this. No matter how good people want to play it and how much they want to play it. I mean, we have one that's been playing Destro since TBC, played it all through Wrath, and one of the best Destro locks in the world, and it just doesn't get enough love in this expansion, unfortunately. It really just kind of goes down the shitter. It really sucks that it does, because I know it's a really fun spec to play. And I do believe it comes back in Mists of Pandaria as a more viable spec, but it is just the talents are not great. The damage it does is not great. It doesn't bring anything to the raid that the other specs don't already bring. It's just it's the same as a Frost Mage. It's just not really worth bringing to your raid a Destro Lock when you have all these other classes at the top here that are just going to be better than it. It's just not worth. All right. Next on the Arms Warrior. This one is my other S tier. Arms Warrior is my other S tier. I think Arms Warriors are just going to be same as these top ones. You're going to want to stack them, right? These are the stacking classes. Any one of these, if you could stack them, will be worthwhile to stack, right? If you have 4 Hunters, bring all 4 Hunters as long as you have the buffs. If you have 4 Warriors, bring all 4 Warriors, right? If you have 4 Rep Paladins, bring all the Rep Paladins, right? Mages, bring them all, right? So this one and these two, the Mages and the Rep Paladins, I do feel like are probably like they could move, like you could do like this could move down here and this could move up here, right? Then you have the Affliction Lock could move up to here and the Rep Paladin move down here, right? There's it depends on the player. It depends on, how Blizzard actually does their balance and how it all shakes out when it comes to, running on 4.4, right? When we're doing phase 1. So, because we're not getting any balance changes as we have gotten throughout all of Classic. They don't do the balance changes. So, I think this is a pretty static 4 at the top. But any one of these A classes besides Arcane Mages could essentially slip into these S and replace one of these, right? But you're never really going to have more than 3 to 4 classes and specs that are going to be top tier, right? So I definitely recommend that these are going to be your main classes you're gonna stack, and then you have the other ones which are really good. These are serviceable. These are kind of like if people don't want to swap and don't just want to play these specs, you could bring them, but they probably lower on the list. And then just don't bring your Frost and Destro Locks. And then same with Fury. We're going to go into D rank, because if you have a spec that's at S and the Fury doesn't bring anything else, chat. If you have 4 warriors, tell one of them to reroll Frost DK so someone will use your one-handed strength weapons and make you eat your hater takes. Bro, leave me alone. I moved Unholy up to A, okay? Because it is truly an A tier class, Unholy. And if we're looking at tanks, which I'll do here in a minute, right? We'll do tanks and healers after this, and clear this. But Fury is just, it's just not going to be good. The damage is just not comparable to Arms. It's just, exactly, Blood DK D tier, 100%. But yeah, I think Fury is just not going to be good. It's just not going to be fluid. It just doesn't scale the same way that it did in Wrath. Arms is going to be your main spec, and it's going to pump. So just bring your Arms Warriors. Tell your Fury Warriors to suck it if they still want to play Fury. All right, Assassination Rogue. I kind of want to put this, based on some of the stuff that I've seen so far, I'm going to put it up at A. I think Assassination Rogues are going to be really good in Phase 1. I do think they're probably going to trail off and in Phase 2 and Phase 3, and then make room for some of the other rogue specs. I think Subtlety will come up there. I think Combat will come up there once the gear changes. But Assassination early is going to be really nice. So I definitely think you're going to want to bring some rogues and bring some Assassination rogues. Again, you could bring Combat, but Assassination will just be better. It'll just do more damage, I think. Unless you have someone that's just really good at rogue and really likes Combat, they might still do comparable damage. Again, all speculation, but yeah. And then finally we have one more, so we have Subtlety Rogue. So Subtlety Rogue, this is a bit of a mystery, even though the camouflage thing here is a mystery as well. I think it's a mystery for me because I haven't seen anyone play it. It is the highest skill cap spec in the game throughout the entirety of Cataclysm. It is more punishing than Affliction was in Wrath. it is more punishing than discipline is in Kata. It is a situation where if you mess up 1 second of your rotation, you lose all your damage. So, with it being that high skill cap and it being kind of mediocre damage for phase 1, I'm going to put it at C tier because I just don't think it's worthwhile to bring a subtlety rogue when we don't have any information about it being the godlike spec that people said it was. And I think it's just assassination is just going to be better. It's easy to play. And subtlety will move its way up throughout the expansion. So I do think that this is a really good DPS list. I think it's probably pretty fair, and hopefully it turns out the way we kind of planned it to, and the way this looks. Hopefully it turns out this way, and I'm not just proven completely wrong, which is very possible. Who knows? But I think this is pretty much where most of this stuff's going to sit, right? I think your majority, like some things are going to move up and down depending on, what gear comes out, what gear you have, what you're ready for pre-raid, right? And the player that's playing the class, right? So good players playing these 4 classes are going to be your primary people, but good players playing these classes could beat out medium players playing these classes. Because it is very skill-based when it comes to Cataclysm now. It was even more so skill-based in Wrath, and it's even more so skill-based now in Kata. So it's really, really important that you have good players playing these classes that know what they're doing and aren't just playing the meta to play the meta, right? So I do think you have a really good set of classes here, especially up at the top in the A, and B ranks, to bring with you. And then even in the C ranks, there really is only 3 specs that you just aren't going to want to bring, right? Everything else is going to be viable. And if you have good players that just really enjoy these classes, make sure you bring them, because they're gonna pump and they're gonna do well. They're gonna bring stuff that you didn't think about. They're gonna have things that you didn't know about. So I definitely recommend bringing anything up C and above. So that is the DPS ranks. Let me pull these out. Can I just disappear them? No, that doesn't work. We have a sim now? Hold on. Leo. There's a sim? The way you tell me is sim? What the fuck? That's what I'm asking you. I don't know. Is there a sim? Because if there's a sim, I'll go back and I'll sim all this shit with pre-raid bis, and we'll sim it out, and that'll be even better. And I'll redo this gladly. Wow, Alk. Wow. It's so nice to me. So nice to me. Okay. I guess, man, Twitch chat, you guys are crazy. Kind of love it though. All right, we'll pull all these down and we'll put them at the back here, and then we'll do healers and tanks. Okay. We'll do tanks first. So we'll start with Prot Warriors. D tier Prot Warriors. Absolute garbage. They don't have the survivability. They don't have the threat. They don't have the cooldowns. They're absolute butt. Don't bring them. Don't bring a Prot Warrior. I mean, I guess you can if it's your only option. If your people are being like, hey, let's do a warrior. This is phase 1. It's just phase 1. Hey, look, I only want to play a warrior. I'm your only tank, and I'm really good at tank. I'll play warrior, and I'll make it look good. I mean, try, but Okay. Blood DK. Your Abyss tank. These things are absolute monsters. You get a Blood DK. You get a good Blood DK. Like RGM, he's real good. He's real good. I tell you. Chat is going crazy right now. It's so funny. You guys are ridiculous. BDKs are going to be absolute monsters. They are absolutely insane. There's going to be nothing better than a Blood DK. Like, if you have a Blood DK, they have threat projection. They have insane survivability and healing. They have insane amounts of HP. They are literally going to be the literal gods of Kata for tanking. So get yourself a Blood DK. They are BIS for rating. Make sure you have a Blood DK. Prop Paladins. I think I'm gonna put a Prop Paladin in A tier. I think they're really good. They're gonna be great. They have Divine Guardian. There's a really good cooldown. They are perfectly great as far as survivability. They have a lot of cooldowns they can use to survive. They have some healing with Word of Glory that they can heal themselves. They have some range threat. They're pretty good. I think Prop Paladins are going to be really good as a nice tandem to Blood DKs. And I think the same thing is going to be great with Feral. I don't think either of these are comparable to Blood DK. I don't think either Prop Paladin or Feral Druid is comparable to Blood DK with just how good it is. I think you'll be fine. I've run a raid with a Paladin and a Feral Druid, and we did just fine. But I just think you're gonna run out of mana a lot faster with your healers because the Blood DKs just have that much more survivability as far as healing. They're just better. So I think you could do either one of these, and I think if you have a Feral Druid as an off tank, it's really good. It's also a very good option because then they can have a Feral Cat spec. And that's what I was talking about earlier when I did my Feral Cat, and I talked about it. I talked about how Feral Cats are probably not great on their own, but if they're utilized as a third tank or an off tank, they would move up a rank and move into the B tier, right? Because they're good damage, right? And they could be used in that way. I think Feral Druids will be pretty good, right? And they are very good tanks. So I think they are comparable to Prop Paladins. They are interchangeable when it comes to your raids. It really just depends on your setup, your players, what you got. So either way, I think this is our tank setup. I think it's pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and do the healers now. So I think this is going to be tough because I'm not a healer main, so I'm going to kind of go on a whim here and kind of see what happens with this and see how we do and how I feel about it. But I'm going off of very, very, very base level information, right? Okay, hold on, Alk, hold on. Was my tank tier list was not wrong. And I know Leo knows that my tank tier list was not wrong. And my DPS tier list was not wrong either. There were flaws in it. There are probably flaws in it. Absolutely. Because I'm not flawless and I'm not perfect. But, listen. Prop Paladins are not as good as Blood DKs. It's a fact. Clearly, you don't want to take 2 Blood DKs, right? No, I'm not saying that. I wouldn't put. So you're saying that if we're looking at an optimal comp, then it would be literally the tier list would be this, right? This is the tier list then, right? You bring And the thing I'm saying is like S is like must have, right? You have to have that. A is like interchangeable, where like you can bring them. They're going to be really good. They're definitely meta. They're going to be really, really nice, right? And it differs between tank and DPS, right? With DPS, right, the meta classes are the ones you stack, right? But with tanks, you don't normally stack the same class of tank. But like you're looking at like you must have that. Yes. Like but like these are interchangeable and they're just not as good as a Blood DK. Like if you were sat here and put these all here, like this is not better. Like it's just not, right? This is you every raid should have a Blood DK, right? Should be running a Blood DK, and you can run either as the off tank, either a prop paladin or a druid. They'll be very, very good, right? But they're not going to be the Blood DK. So Blood DK is a must-have. You must have a Blood DK. The other ones are you can do it with these. I think you could go either way. Yeah, we don't really know which one yet, and that's why I put them both at A, because after, doing the thing with Igloo and on his Feral and doing Marl, right, like they were both great. And Igloo, like Feral Druids have a pretty decent amount of different kit stuff they can do, but so do Paladins. So like it did feel kind of like it didn't really feel like one was winning out over the other one as far as like what they were able to do. They both bring unique things to the raid, and I think they will both be useful in different aspects of the raid. So, my 2 cents on it at least. All right, healing. This is, like I said before, this one's going to be a little rough. This guy's just shitting on my Boomkin ranking, dude. My Boomkin and FTK ranking. Oh man. Didn't I move Frost up to B? Didn't I? All right. Resto Druid. B probably. This is just off the cuff, right? I think B. I don't think there's gonna be any D rank healers. It's either B or A. I don't think Resto Druids are S. I really don't. I don't think that they're S. We're talking about Phase 1, Alk. Phase 1. We're not in Firelands, brah. I think right now they're B tier, right? Like they're gonna be a healer that you bring. I mean, maybe I can justify A, right? But like, I can justify an A tier because they're still gonna be very good. They have they've battle res, right? They bring Tranquility, which is an insane raid cooldown this expansion. It's nuts, and they are like kind of like they bring Innervate. They don't run out of mana very easily. They are a very good healer class. They're probably one of the most mana efficient classes besides Shaman. I think your Holy Paladins are going to be your S tier. I think you're probably not going to want to raid with without a Holy Paladin. 10 mans you could probably get away without a Holy Paladin, but I still don't really recommend it. They're just too good. They're still going to be really, really great. Really, really, really good for they actually have AoE heals now, so I do think the Holy Paladin is just like you need to have at least one in your raids for healing. Discipline. This one's tough because it's like I feel like it could go either way with S or A. Like I feel like there's like room to breathe with S or A on the Disc Priest because like they have they have a lot of utility, but it's also like I just think that they're also like really high skill caps. So like, want to make sure that you're. I think S is probably the place then for them. They're like a must-have for your 25s. Like you shouldn't really be going into 25s without a disc. Um, just make sure that your disc is good and understands how to play atonement and how to do all of the things that disc can do. That's just my 2 cents on that. I agree. If your disc is good, they're going to be S tier, right? They're going to be just as good as a Holy Paladin, if not better. But I think I'm going off of like trying to say like you need to have if you have a good disc player, you should have a disc player in your raid, right? Like there's no ifs, ands, or but about it. The class is built around it being incredible in these kinds of scenarios. So if you're good at it, make sure you have one. Holy, I think I want to put Holy at B, because they're good, but they don't have the same utility as Disc, and they have one less cooldown. They have a little bit better AoE healing, but I think the Resto Druid is going to have better AoE healing, so they're just kind of like, they're the healer that you can kind of go with or without, right? Like if you have one that's good at it, they're going to do well, they're going to perform. They're not something you can just sit on the bench and just always have on the bench. They're not one that you're going to just be like, screw Holy Priest, they're terrible. No, they're not bad. They're not bad at all. Like, they're good. But they're just, I think they're, out of all 5 healing specs, I just think they're the lowest performing, personally. So I do think Holy is a B tier. At 7:27. No, you got 3 minutes, man. We're almost done. And then the final one, we got Shaman. So Resto Shaman, I want to put them at A tier, personally. I know Alec just said that Resto Shaman are poop. I like Resto Shaman. I'm playing Resto Shaman right now on the server we're messing around on, and I'm playing one on the beta. It's different. It's definitely a little bit more in the higher skill cap range. It's got one of the single best raid cooldowns in the game with Spirit Link Totem. So I think with that alone, it brings them past a Holy Priest and not at B tier because of Spirit Link. I think if they didn't have Spirit Link, they'd probably be B tier, but because they have Spirit Link, they're A tier. I think they're going to be real. They're good utility. They do damage too, right? So they do a lot of their spells now, and the way they regen mana is based on using their shock abilities and using their lightning bolts to gain mana back. So they're going to be doing damage. They're going to be casting additional things outside of healing. Healing Rain is also just kind of broken, right? It's just really, really good for AoE healing, especially when in big groups. So healing the melee in a 25 man, he put a Healing Rain on there, and you just stand still. You know, you don't even need to do anything. So I do think Shaman are better than Holy Priest. That's why I put them at A. But again, if they didn't have Spirit Link Totem, they would be at the same level as a Holy Priest. So I think out of all of them, you're going to want to bring these 4, right? So you can interchange kind of who you want to bring. You're going to want to absolutely have at least one Holy Paladin and at least one Disc Priest. We'll probably run a similar setup to what we had originally run in the beginning of Wrath, which was 2 Holy Paladin, 1 Disc Priest, Resto Druid, and a Resto Shaman. But you can interchange that depending on the fight, depending on how your raid feels about it. Like, you can run 2 Resto Shaman, you can run 2 Resto Druids, right? You can run a Disc and a Holy Priest, right? And only 1 Paladin, right? So there are a bunch of different combinations that you can run here that are completely viable and will totally allow you to kill bosses and have a good time. So I don't think there's any bad healers that you're going to sit there and say, nah, I don't want to take you, right? There's really only 4 total classes and specs that you're just really not going to want to take to raids. And it is Prot Warriors, Frost Mages, Destrolocks, and Fury Warriors. That's it. Everyone else is viable. Literally. Have a good player on it, they'll do what they need to do, and you'll be able to succeed with them. All right? So I think this was fun. I had a great time with this. This was cool. It's not worth it to bring a Destro for one fight, though. Like, I don't think that's really worth it to bring Destro for one fight. Like, maybe if you have someone that's willing to swap their spec to it for the one fight that it may or may not be good on, but is it good? Is it better than the other Warlock specs on that fight? You know, is really the question there. Because, like, okay, cool. Well, that's all I had. I'm probably gonna call the stream here because I got some stuff I gotta go do. But I certainly appreciate y'all hanging out and watching. This was fun. I recorded it. I'm gonna be posting this as a YouTube video probably sometime next week. I will have another YouTube video out this Saturday. There's the Cataclysm Reputation Guide is going to be out on Saturday, so tune in. Make sure you check that out and subscribe to my YouTube. So that'll be the Cataclysm Rep Guide, and then I have a raid composition guide coming out the following Saturday, which I've done the scripts for both of those already, and then I'll be finishing them up and doing them tomorrow. Is the plan, is I'm going to be trying to make both of those videos and scheduling them out, and also making this one and scheduling it out so that the next week and a half is covered, so I don't have to worry about it, and it's just everything's done. So those will be up soon. If you have anything you want, join the Discord, hang out, want to chat with me. I really appreciate y'all hanging out today. Thanks for the follows. Excuse me. Ooh. Thanks for the follows. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I will see you guys next time. Sunday for sure. Hopefully I'll be streaming on Sunday. That will be the goal. So I will see you guys then. Laters.